There are also big questions about how Trump's trade war could affect your everyday shopping here in the coming weeks and months. The Port of Los Angeles, which is the busiest in the U.S., is seeing significantly less cargo and containers this month after the president dropped his tariffs on products from China. It's a major reversal in fortunes for the port and its workers. For the 10 months leading up to the trade fight, the port had seen consistent growth. With us now is the executive director for the Port of Los Angeles, Gene Soroka. And Gene, it's great to have you back. We have been checking in with you regularly to see how things have been going. 3 weeks ago, traffic was down by about a third. How's it going right now?
Good afternoon, Brianna. And May overall has been a pretty light month, bookended by a very low first week in volume, down more than 30%, as you mentioned. And here we are in the last week of the month, also down about 30% compared to the same time last year. Some 17 vessel arrivals out of 80 or more that were scheduled this month canceled outright. For the month of June, we see 10 additional cancellations, although half of those are in the first week.
So why we see this reprieve, right, in tariffs on China, 145% down to 30% temporarily. Why is that not mirrored in what you're seeing in the port, or do you expect that it will not be exactly mirrored?
Two reasons, Brianna. Number one, 30% added onto the cost of goods is still a very high number. And second, that 30% is just an average of averages. A customer near the port here told me that they import auto parts for the big three manufacturers in Michigan. The average tariff on those parts, about 57.5%. Baby shoes in the 90s, other products well above that 30% mark have been the point of conversations of importers and me over the past several weeks. So here's what we're seeing. One, goods that were manufactured and on factory floors in containers are being scooped up by American importers to honor those agreements. Second, if a purchase order was already in motion to manufacture goods, likely those will be honored as well and brought in. But with this 90-day reprieve, as you and I have discussed, it's not a long runway in our business. Not many new orders have gone in since those talks in Geneva concluded.
They're not ordering the new stuff, right? They're afraid they're not going to beat the buzzer here. And to be clear, your port, which is why we like you a lot, Gene, but we also really like to talk to you being from the Port of Los Angeles, because your port and the neighboring port of Long Beach, both there in San Pedro Bay, are bellwethers for the U.S. economy. So Americans looking at your port, how should they be seeing what is happening there as they consider their own bottom line?
All right, Brianna, that's a great point. And while we are an economic engine feeding cargo to every congressional district in the nation, we're also a leading economic indicator. We can see 3 and 4 months ahead of time how many orders actually go into factories in Asia, what's produced, how much is coming across the ocean here, and I see it still very light. Part suppliers to American factories are telling me that they will keep a very low but steady stream of parts to avoid plant shutdowns. An automotive plant line shuts down, that's $4 million at the top line in lost money to that factory. And on the retail side, if the goods aren't moving fast off the shelves, they're not going to be replenished. So lower inventory, higher carrying costs for American companies, fewer selections, and likely higher prices leading into the summertime.
You also have your port workers, warehouse workers, truck drivers, there's the local restaurants, local businesses that are all connected to the economy there in the port. They're really feeling it. What does it mean for the local economy, and how quickly can that rebound if things do actually normalize when it comes to port traffic?
In the second largest city in our nation, Brianna, 1 in 15 working Angelenos has a job related to this port. Job postings for dock workers on occasional shifts have been down as much as 40%. Less cargo means fewer jobs. Truckers, hauling fewer containers across the Southern California gateway. And realistically, that's going to hit home. If you're getting less hours on the job and you go to the market and the prices are higher, you get hit twice.
Gene Soroka, thank you so much. Being our barometer every few weeks as we talk to you, we really appreciate it.
The army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones, that kind of thing is going to come to America.
Okay, so is it really? This is a question we've been asking over and over again, and this is what we're going to dig into today on this morning's off-script conversation. Because it's coming as President Trump is putting pressure on Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, to bring iPhone manufacturing to the U.S., warning that if it doesn't happen, the company will face a tariff of at least 25%.
When they build their plant here, there's no tariff. So they're going to be building plants here. But I had an understanding with Tim that he wouldn't be doing this. He said he's going to India to build plants. I said, that's okay to go to India, but you're not going to sell into here without tariffs.
But making the iPhone or any other gadget in the U.S., it's not so easy, according to a new article on CNN this morning. Joining us now is CNN business tech writer Lisa Edichico. Lisa, thanks for bringing your writing to us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So I feel like there is this Dave Chappelle joke where he talks about how he doesn't want an iPhone to cost $9,000, so he doesn't care that it's not made in the U.S. But at this point, because people have started looking into it, do we know why it's so hard to make this technology here?
Yeah, absolutely. So it comes down to a few things, but the biggest factor here is that we just don't have the workforce with the right skills in the U.S. to build iPhones and other similar products at scale. Now, this is not the first time this has come up. Apple CEO Tim Cook has talked about this in the past, about how the skills that the workforce in China and India, the skills over there are a bit different than the manufacturing skills here. And speaking at a Fortune magazine conference in 2017, he kind of described it as this intersection of computer science, advanced robotics, and craftsmanship. So in order to bring iPhone manufacturing to the United States, Apple would either have to build up that workforce or try to automate things more in the production process, which would probably be the more likely option.
One of the things Jonathan just said on the panel here is, like, why would any company kind of change everything for a president who might be in office for just another 3 years? Can you talk about that calculus for any of these tech firms?
Absolutely. It's a really tough position that Apple is in for that exact reason. The Trump administration has been pushing Apple to bring its iPhone manufacturing to the U.S., but to do that, it would have to upend its entire production system. And Apple is really good at this. It's spent decades really building out its supply chain and its network of suppliers and its manufacturing processes. So to upend that and bring that to the United States for what might not have to be a long-term bet would likely not be the right move for Apple, and possibly not the right move for consumers either, because it could potentially lead to price hikes.
I want to talk about something, though, because back in 2018, during Trump's first term, he actually took credit for bringing Foxconn and their factory to Wisconsin. They're a Taiwanese electronics manufacturer. And here's how he talked about it back then.
Moments ago, we broke ground on a plant that will provide jobs for much more than 13,000 Wisconsin workers. America is open for business more than it has ever been open for business. Between our low taxes, our cutting of regulations, and we're not finished with the regulation. And we'll have regulation, but it's sensible regulation. You'll be able to get things approved quickly.
So a lot of this rhetoric is the same, but you were digging into, like, what actually happened, and I think they were supposed to employ 13,000 people. As of December of last year, they had employed just over 1,000 people. Is this a Foxconn problem, or is this a sign of, like, how this kind of plays out?
I think it kind of speaks to the broader issue here, is that the United States just doesn't have the workforce with those skills at scale. And building that takes a lot more than just opening up a new facility or a new factory. There's very specific specialized training that has to be involved. So I think it speaks to that larger issue, and also the fact that manufacturing jobs in the United States just aren't as big as they used to be. There's lots of other types of jobs that are more in demand. So I think that what happened with Foxconn kind of speaks to this broader issue that just because you build it doesn't necessarily mean that they will come.